Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Height, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, the Hunter. Welcome back to the Baseball Height 2. And welcome back, and of course, this is another episode of the insane asylum known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha. They're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny fun.
Yes, welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2, and here we chronicle, along with the Baseball Hut, the insanity of the clowns, or as they like to call themselves, the hosts at WFAN. And one of the things that we like to make fun of, I don't really care too much about what they say about the other teams in New York City, to be honest with you. I like to sort of get after them when it comes to the New York Mets, but they complained, and they've been complaining the last couple, that's all they do. All they do is complain, and they complain about the MLB. I know that they've been complaining about JUAN SOTO, making all kinds of threatening remarks. They like to pretend that they speak for the fans. Just because the call letters of the radio station is WFAN doesn't mean you speak for your host or anybody else. And this is the third generation, fourth generation of WFAN. There are no superstars at that radio station. None. You know, there's no Howie Rose there. There's no Mike and the Mad Dog there. There's no Imus there. What you got is a fourth generation of a bunch of losers, watered down. Now, I wouldn't respectful. I don't hate them. I just hate Joe Beningo. That's all the only person I hate. Can't stand him. But they've been complaining the last couple of days. They don't, and here's the funny thing. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of them have to sort of be on call now. They're all starting all their podcasts that they're sharing on WFAN. I think they're a little irritated that they might have to go on a podcast with their coworkers in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner or in the middle of Christmas dinner or something. I think this is what a lot of this is complaining about. This is from Odyssey.com. It is very difficult for your host to find things to complain about with them. I mean to sort of critique about with them because they have changed their whole social media strategy. They used to do a thing where they would play the whole clips, the video clips of their shows that was simulcast on CBS Sports TV or whatever the hell they're on in the morning. Or the clips of them on in the morning, in the afternoon at WFAN, at SNY with Evan and Tiki. Now, what they are doing is they're doing basically live streams after the shows, live streams in the evening. Evan Roberts has, I guess, a podcast called Rico Brony, which is the worst name for any kind of program. You name it after a person. You know, you name it after a living person, and there was a baseball player from the Mets back in the 90s. I mean, it's so silly, so stupid. You know, I mean, is Evan old enough to remember Rico Brony? Rico Brony's a footnote in Mets history. And no disrespect to Rico, he was pretty good. You know, but they replaced him with John Olerud. I mean, there's no podcast called Donald Trump Podcast. That wouldn't fly. I mean, I should name the channel the Donald Trump Podcast. I might as well. I mean, just name it after a person, you know. So strange. That's, you know, and I like Evan, you know. It's like the one real honest Mets fan there. And then you got the Coconut, a.k.a. Brandon Tierney, doing this new podcast complaining about the Jets. And of course you can't, and that is a news show that they're simulcasting after every game that the Jets play. If they're able to play it and able to finish a game. But this is the kind of strategy they're doing. And like I said, when I used to go on Odyssey.com, I used to be able to read all this stuff. They don't do that anymore. When they post the stuff on X, you gotta listen to their crap. I mean, you gotta listen to their shows. I don't want to do that. But every so often they'll post stuff. This seemed probably innocuous, but I think this is probably what the complaint is coming from. I think some of them don't want to have to do these podcasts. I don't think Greg Giannotti, who's probably the biggest nut job at the radio station, hearing voices in his head, I think he's the one person at the radio station that doesn't want to do any of these podcasts. And if he does, he's doing it for a favor. This is from Odyssey.com. This is from Thursday. Geo, MLB offseason continues to be worse in pro sports by far. As the GM meetings wrap up this week, not much will get done in terms of signings or trades, as that's typically saved for the winter meetings, which don't get going for more than a month. For Gio, that is one of the many reasons why the MLB offseason is unbearable. It likely will be again this year, as he anticipates the JUAN SOTO sweepstakes potentially dragging out, like Manny Machado and Bryce Harper's free agency did in 2019. I would mention next week, they're giving out the awards next week for the American League MVP, the National League MVP, the Cy Young, Rookie of the Years, the Manager of the Years. So, baseball spreads out everything. The only complaint that we've heard is last year we had all this just a lousy free agent class. Now, the rumor is there's going to be a lot of big trades coming down the pipe. It's going to be very active. The GM meetings are very quiet, and baseball just ended, folks. Baseball ended just last week. What is this guy's problem? Quote, of all the offseason in pro sports, the worst is the baseball offseason. Gregory said, it is mind-numbing. It is pulling teeth. Think about the difference between the NFL free agency and MLB free agency and even NBA free agency. When we talk about popularity of sports today, I think the offseason keeping the news cycle churning is another big reason why baseball has fallen back a little bit. When that tampering period starts in the NFL, it's bang, 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 players flying around like crazy. In basketball, it's July 1st, and bang, bang, bang. Okay. Baseball doesn't have a deadline to make free agent signings, so instead of a flurry of moves happening in a matter of hours, it can sometimes be drawn out months. Even last offseason, but this is the thing about last offseason. We have one agent holding up the market, okay, with Scott Boras. Shohei Ohtani, let me read you this. Gio says causes a serious lull in baseball interest and leads to reporters searching for any nugget of information possible, which could lead to incorrect reports like Shohei Ohtani to the Blue Jays or Aaron Arson Judge to the Giants. Shohei Ohtani. Let's take a step back. The YouTube channel Ball Cap Sports, Jim Riley, had gotten a tip that a plane was going from California, Los Angeles, California to Toronto. He did this whole big live stream saying that was Shohei Ohtani going to meet with the Blue Jays, and that was bullshit. I don't know if Jim knew that, but if he had any brain, you knew that wasn't true. Why he did that live stream was for basic reason. It was fun. It was interesting. But Gio also continues, because things move so slow in the offseason, any little morsel of anything is thrown out there, even if it isn't halfway true. Okay? Gregory, you're in the business of shock radio. Okay? Even though Don Imus is long past, even though Howard Stern is irrelevant, you guys are shock jocks in the sports realm. Pissing and moaning about the New York Mets last offseason, saying that they had a terrible offseason, they had a failed offseason, that the offseason was a failure. That's what you do. This is the business that you are in. And they basically don't like the fact, okay, that your host and other channels are always talking about this stuff on a regular basis. We find stuff to talk about, okay? When these guys come on, it doesn't work like that on YouTube, okay? Maybe explain this to these people that don't understand the platform, okay? This is about keeping the people here. This is about keeping the people watching. This is not about news, okay? That's why when I do videos on these clouds or I do videos on gossip, it does great, okay? Because people want to watch this stuff. They can get any of this information. I could do a video saying, Mets sign Juan Soto. A 20-minute video. Why watch? Why watch? Okay? Why watch? Because you know what happened. With YouTube, you want to bring people in to watch. YouTube wants you to keep the content. They want people to keep watching the content. And if they like your video, all right, they sub, or they watch another video that you did. That's how it works. But with these clowns, they want the monopoly. Okay? They have a very difficult time finding stuff to talk about because they don't want to dig deep. Everything's surface level. Everything's on the surface with the radio people. Okay? They like to pretend they can't really do anything above the surface. Or go deeper. Go deep into these things. Because they know their audience doesn't like that stuff. So they have to shock people because it's an old model. That's why so many channels are popular. That's why I'm popular. It's because I will go beneath all this and cut the bullshit. And that's what I do here, folks. And I'm going to say this. Alrighty. What WFAN likes to do is they always like to make threatening comments about the teams and about the people that own the teams and run the teams, saying that they better do this and they better do that. Sal Licata, who I call Spaz Licata, because he spazzes out all the time on the radio, but then he sort of becomes like a different person on his SNY show, a dreary SNY show with the same reporters and the same magpies that they drag in off the street, that are MLB insiders, quote unquote. They never leave the studio. They're always in the studio. It's just unctuous. But he never says anything negative about the Mets. And if he does, it's very passive. Very passive. Now, Spaz on his radio program had basically threatened the Mets the other day that if the Mets don't sign JUAN Soto, that they will have a failed offseason. I want to sort of clue Spaz in. You said that last offseason, and the Mets were 2 games from the World Series. Were 2 wins from the World Series. They were 2 wins away from the World Series. And do you still say they had a failed offseason last year? No. It's not about winning the offseason. I'm going to point that out. The Mets won the offseason many, many times over the last 40 years. And it wins shit. Okay? This is about winning the season. The Mets came awfully close to the World Series. If they'd gotten past the Dodgers, they would have beaten the Yankees. Anybody that watched the Mets during the season, how they played the Yankees during the season, how well they played for the last 4 months, 5 months, the Mets would have beaten the Yankees easily. They would have beaten them in 5 games, 6 games against the Yankees. Don't doubt me. Okay? And you don't have to spend $700 million to be a good team, a winning team, a World Series team. I know a lot of payroll teams, high payroll teams in the last few rounds of the postseason. But that's what you have to spend to get good quality players. It's all about the team. It's all about being able to play the right way. Signing JUAN Soto to $700 million does not guarantee you a World Series. Okay, the Mets have done this in the past, where they've signed players to big contracts, and it doesn't develop. You don't win a World Series by winning the offseason. It's as simple as that. Now, again, this is another episode of the Insane Asylum, known as WFAN. Subscribe.
They're coming to take me away, ha ha. They're coming to take me away, ho ho, hee hee, ha ha. To the funny part.